Hey, what's up? This is Carolina Flower, and I wanted to send everybody beautiful vibes. You're probably wondering why I'm wearing this silly hat. Well, there's a very easy answer to that. It's because I can. But anyway, I'm over here with my buddy Charlie, and he's helping me film this video.
Hello everybody. How's everybody doing?
And he just kind of wanted to be here for me and help me out with what's going on, so.
Yeah, so I got a quick question for you.
Okay.
How do you feel about the connection between a friendship and a relationship? And is there a difference of, a connection between both?
Okay. I feel like people draw a lot of differences between those, and I think that ultimately they should be based on the same universal connection, on the one that's ultimately what connects us all. And people just draw a lot of lines because of the sex, and they think it's any different, and they're not different. And not only are they not different, but we're treating them exactly the same nowadays. Let me get a little bit into it. Basically, let me start with friendships. In friendships, people are very empty nowadays with each other. They're not in the moment, in the present. They're not honest about how they feel about each other in the present. They kind of just tell each other what they want to hear. So they live in this friendship where they're not growing. It's just people that are staying the same, and they're just spoiling each other about who they are. So I know that at the end of the day, everybody has a different reason to have a friend. Everybody's just, it's a very subjective thing. So I can't even say that we will all agree on this. But personally, I think that the reason why we have relationships, any type of relationship, it's to grow with people, to grow from them. Because I feel like people mirror us at the end of the day. They show us how we need to change and how we are, not necessarily how we need to change, but how we are, period. And I think that that's the key element of all these relationships, any type of relationship. When it comes down to sexual relationship, it's a little bit more tricky because it should be based on the friendship type of relationship. It should be based on that, because let's give the example that I trust the guy that I just met, and I'm getting to know him to be in a relationship. That's kind of like trusting a stranger with your heart. And you don't really know this person. It's kind of silly that most of us women, we suffer this thing that we want everybody to be in a relationship with us. And it's silly that a man would want to be in a relationship with us without really even knowing. So there is a sex factor at the end of the day that puts even more pressure on the universal connection that we should have with each other. It's very delicate, and it's obvious that we cannot handle it. I'm not talking shit about people that have a lot of sex or not. It's not about that. It's the fact that we're just treating each other like crap. And it brings me down to the point that if you're not connected with self, ultimately with the universe, with who you are, with what gets you mad, with what type of people get you mad, with what you're learning about, what you learn about today in life in general, because I'm not talking about school, I'm talking about life here. If you're not connected to that, to self, if you don't spend time with yourself and get to know yourself, then you're not going to know who you are. And you're just going to be in these friendships, these relationships, and they're going to be empty. You're not going to understand what people tell you when they try to tell you about yourself. And even if it's wrong, even if it's right, it doesn't matter, because when you spend time around people, you learn from them if you really want to, and if they're also willing. Like, you have so much to learn from each other. And if you're not connected to self, you're not going to be able to do this. I think the best way is to find the balance between spending time with yourself and spending time in the present. My example will be meditation and basically living consciously. You could definitely do the meditation thing, which is spending time with yourself. At the end of the day, you're being mindful. You're thinking about everything that's inside that you might not think about regularly. So, Charlie has a question. Charlie.
I'm sorry I interrupt. I got a quick question.
Okay.
Because just to get back to the subject of connection, and I just wanted to. I understand where I understand where you come from with the connection through a friendship. Now, but I'm imagining this picture in my head, and I see like a beautiful home, a family, a white man, a beautiful wife, 3 kids, beautiful car. They must have a connection. They've been together 10 years. Don't you think they have some type of connection?
Yeah, they do have a connection. Obviously, they've been around each other, because that's the thing. At the end of the day, we all have a connection. There's a connection happening, but there's different types of connections. There's a connection that will help you grow, and the connection that will not help you grow, that will just help you basically live. It's more like you're not living, it's more like life is living you, because I feel like there's no point on living if you're not learning at the end of the day. I mean, you're just living day by day, not staying the same, knowing that everything else is changing. I mean, there's so much going on. This family, this people that you gave me an example of, like, they could easily be unhappy. You just never know. It's just an image at the end of the day. I think there's no specific way to grow up, especially nowadays that the world doesn't fit young people. I think just the way we grew up, just everything is just so different for us nowadays, and that's why, because of this, we have to get to know ourselves, because of all this, because of everything that's going on, because we're different from the people before us, because we're different from the people after us, from the generations after us, before us, that we're different. Each of us is different. We have to stay conscious of who we are and who we're being with each other. I think, relationships and friendships would be much easier if people could tell each other how they felt in the present without feeling like they could get each other mad or, hurt each other's feelings, even though, they can hurt your feelings, but it's all up to you what you do about it. So sometimes we have to get our feelings hurt because you have to know the truth. And it's hard. It is very hard. And people have jobs, full-time jobs. They have a lot of things going on in their life. And all this takes energy. Spending energy on people, thinking of the perfect way to say it, the perfect way to express yourself, that takes a lot of energy. And not a lot of people have it, and you cannot blame them. But you have to look at it this way. You have to find balance in your life. At the end of the day, that's what it is. Even if you're working, there's always a way to find balance in your life. Like, just never shut down your possibilities. There's always a way to find, what truly fulfills your heart. And I think at the end of the day is this connection, this love connection, because that's really what love is. The connection that brings us all together, the force that brings us all together. The gravity that brings us all together. That's what love is. Not what these people think that love is. Like, that's just an outdated version of love. People just forgot, and now we're remembering again. And we've been in this world where we think of love as such a hurtful thing that we don't even want to hear about it. When people are offended by the word love, it's kind of like we have to change the meaning of things. We have to think differently, bring in new meanings to words, new meanings to our life, because things are changing and we have to evolve with things. We can't keep thinking the same way. We have to connect with self and realize who we really are at the end of the day, because each of us, we're all part of this mess that we talk so much about. We're all part of it. That's why it's happening, and nothing is going to change unless each one of us does something about it. That's the truth. And I'm not talking about recycling. I'm not necessarily talking about any of those physical things that you can. I'm talking about your relationships with people. It's beyond that. It's the whole nine. If you're trying to change the world, it's the whole nine. It's not just certain things. But connecting to self, it's so important to hold relationships with people, which gives meaning to our life, and that gives meaning to ourselves, and it gives us meaning to live, and that's what we need, what we lack so much in this world, because everybody's suffering. But I think I've covered everything. I mean, I'm not sure. What do you think, Charlie?
Sorry, guys, my throat is dry. Yeah, I would like you to touch the subject of, well, I don't know, from what you say is just, I get the lack of connection, of self-connection. And that's why, because of the lack of one's self-connection, is why there won't be that connection with a friend or with a partner.
Yeah.
What a partner is. So
yeah, but let me get back to that too, because there will be a connection, because this is the thing. The love is still flowing. The connection's just weak. It's kind of hard to explain, because the connection's weak, but it's still there. But it's like the flow is not what it should be. It's kind of just a weaker flow that could probably even be harmful for you. It could consume you. We spend a lot of energy uselessly with people when we get into fights with them and we can't understand them. We can't understand each other, but that's because we're not thinking. We're too lazy to think. Like, fuck you, I'm out.
Yeah. It's
so much easier to do that and walk away from people, and I don't blame anybody that does that. Like, it's so much easier to do that. It is, but that's why we can't have 100,000 friends, because it doesn't work that way. I mean, we could have tons of friends, but we have to understand that we have to have these special friends so we can learn from, have fulfilling friendships, so we can stop thinking that relationships are the only thing that could fulfill us. Because just like relationships get so close that people can't even like understand each other no more. Like, well, nowadays people don't work on each other the way they're supposed to. That's how friendships should be, at that close, to the point where they get to know each other that well. And I'm saying the way we handle relationships are nothing really to brag about. We're shitty about relationships, so in totality of all this, we need to work on self, because if we don't get to know ourselves, we're not gonna see the world. We're just gonna see the reflection of all of our bad traits. We're not gonna see the goodness that it has. We're gonna miss out on it. So we have to find out who we are really, and even the good things. It's not just the bad things. It's the whole nine. So you can love yourself, fully, and connect to the universe again, and we can just all have this world that we dream so much about, and it would just be so amazing. But I think we're good now, right?
Yeah, we covered it all.
Right. That's great. So thank you for watching my video, and keep in tune.